What is up guys, Wraec is here with a new video, and today I want to tell you everything I found out about Hodgkin, whether he's worth your time, whether you should summon him, or if he's just one more addition to the game that will quickly be forgotten about. So, starting off, we see a team right here. We tested a little bit during my live stream I did. We tested everything about this guy during a live stream that you can still watch on my channel, by the way, if you want a longer version. This team is a summoning team, and it centers around the special ability of Hodgkin, which is his Mythic ++10 ability that allows him to essentially make your own summons and your own heroes into basically bombs that deal damage upon dying. And my idea was, okay, we use heroes to summon a lot of summoned units. We make those into bombs. We let them explode by the means of Hodgkin. Hodgkin's active skill deals self-damage to everybody in the vicinity of an enemy, or is adjacent to an enemy. And I thought this could be a cool little build that uses a special mechanic to deal a ton of damage. We can see how well this works. In the end, it turns out, no, it didn't work at all. This +10 ability turned out to be worthless. And yeah, even if one of your summons explodes, turns out this really doesn't deal a whole lot of damage. And what does deal damage is then just the hero or the summon itself, but not this special ability of Hodgkin. You will barely ever notice this damage, and this is already everything you need to know about the +10 ability, by the way. His Mythic Plus in general is quite boring. It summons 2 little helpers for him, and while they of course add to his general HP pool and to his tankiness and add a little bit of damage, they are not super impressive. His most impressive ability is just in display. It is his immunity to physical damage. He has this ethereal stat displayed by this green glow we just saw, and this makes him immune to physical damage, and is definitely one of his more interesting abilities. You can't really achieve a permanent immunity to physical damage at the moment. Maybe if you add a little bit of energy feed to his to the team, it would be possible, because every time he does his ult, he enters this ethereal state, and if you chain enough ults, of course, he would be in his ethereal state forever. So he could, in theory, be indefinitely immune to physical damage after casting his first ult. So not a bad ability at all. The problem with it is that most teams include some kind or some form of magical or true damage. Especially if we enter PvP, we find ourselves more and more faced by those teams. If we take a look, for example, at the most common damage dealers in PvP, we try to find a team in Supreme Arena that doesn't include any magic or true damage dealers, and yeah, you will struggle. Lily May, true damage. Talene, magic damage. Carolina, we are magic damage. We have Iron in there with magic damage. And then some heroes with physical damage, but they can also deal some other form of damage, like true damage. For example, Dianel, who does physical damage, but then for a long time often deals true damage as well. So then you find yourself at the position where you say, okay, can't really find any teams where this immunity really takes effect. You just find yourself countering single heroes. For example, I first got to see this ability when I countered Sharkir. There was an enemy Sharkir in PvE. He just stood in front of this guy, tanked every single hit, because Sharkir can do absolutely nothing against Hodgkin when Hodgkin is in his ethereal state. But in a normal situation, you will leave this ethereal state at some point, and then you will be vulnerable again. And oftentimes, if you are in a position where you're already losing, that will be enough for the enemy team to defeat you. So, what is really good about this guy? Well, other than what we already said, his ult actually does pretty decent damage. We just saw it in the fight, and let's leave that here so we can take a little bit of a look at his abilities. His ult is pretty decent. It hits every single enemy, no matter where they are. It deals 320% to them and to adjacent enemies. So it also hits the enemies next to them. If they close up, that can deal a lot more damage actually. But still, at the same time, combining him with Iron is kind of worthless, because you can deal more damage in that specific situation with the Carolina. So why would you use Hodgkin at that state? This is not really the way you want to use him. We have the ethereal state, as we can see. 8 seconds duration, pretty good. We can enhance that with skill power. So +5 skill power is 10.5%. More HP regeneration as well. And we have the 4-second ethereal state after cannon fire. So if you can cast cannon fire every 4 seconds, you are infinitely invulnerable. And of course you have this as well, so you don't have to cast it all too often. It can work out with, if you cast cannon fire, then phantom respite, and then cannon fire again, that you get actually very, very long duration on that, because then you could get phantom respite pretty quickly again, and yeah, you can get him to be immune to physical damage for a long extent of time. The rest of this is kind of not impressive, and this is a bit of a problem here. Some attack buff, okay. And then we have the Mythic Plus ability where he summons 2 Dead-Tide Warriors. They are not really special. It says that they are affected by Voidbound magic, which is not really explained at all here. It is just that when a unit affected by Voidbound magic is defeated, they trigger an explosion that deals equal to 120% plus an extra 10% of the defeated unit's max HP to the adjacent enemies. Turns out to be not really a whole lot of damage. Really not. I mean, if we take a look at the HP stats that we have, they are actually kind of big, but 10% of damage if the enemy has the same amount of HP. I mean, okay, at the best point they lose 10% of HP, and then there are also defense values, so it's probably even a bit lower. I cannot exceed 200% of his attacks, so even if there is like an enemy that has a ton of HP, it is hard capped by his attack, and yeah, well, so you can see it for yourself. It's just 200% of that, so 616 million at best, which even against him wouldn't be too much damage. And if it's reduced by Fist Death or Magic Death, well, you're not looking at too much damage there. And you have to upgrade this to +10 for it, and really this entire thing is centered around it. If you unlock it, you get the 2 goons, which aren't too impressive, and then if you proceed to upgrade it, well, it really isn't worth it. So if you want to get this hero, maybe +8. If you fancy it, go to +10, but yeah, it's not a really impressive Mythic Plus ability, and I didn't really like it. Sadly, I wanted to like it. I wanted to get this +10 ability, and I wanted to build a cool summoner team and make something happen, but it sadly wasn't possible. So yeah, a bit of a sadness there. Fist Death reduction is cool. If you build a physical team, Fist Death reduction is kind of nice. We take it. It's not really an insane ability at all. And his current charm ability is the standard one that gives him some Fist Death and Magic Death. He is fairly tanky. He feels fairly tanky. With his 2 extra heroes and everything, he feels like a fairly tanky hero. He won't find his way into boss battles. He's like okayish there. Some people used him as a replacement for Fresto, which I don't think he has the same position there. I mean, if you put him at the start of a season, maybe, and you use him as a Fist hero there, but even before the start of the season, magic heroes are often more common. We see people like Odie there, lesser common are Fist heroes, and then you would also need to have an advantage from using a Fist debuffer from the Graveborn faction, which often you don't have, as you see more commonly use the Mauler faction there, and then you have Kruger, which can kind of do the same. So really, I don't see the bigger use for him. So with an overall sense of him being a mediocre hero in almost any game mode he enters, and having no real synergy at the moment, this already gives you a pretty clear idea of if you should summon him or not. In my opinion, clearly no. There is only one scenario that I can see where you want to summon him, or let's say 2 scenarios that I can see where you want to summon him. The one scenario being you don't have Tazi, and you actually now have the means to get enough rate up tickets to bring this guy to Supreme Plus. Well, in this scenario, you actually have the option to use this guy and replace him for Tazi afterwards, which would be a good play. That is a good play. If you summon him, replace him for Tazi, nice play. I say that's a good way to deal with it. On the other hand, the only that is maybe even a stupid reason, his headgear is pretty cool. We have the headwear also. I summoned it. We can take a look at it. It is pretty cool. But whether or not this is enough to summon for him, Depends probably on your spender state. If you are like a big spender, that is a thing, you can go for it. But yeah, not really a must-have, though it is a pretty cool thing. Yeah, beyond that, we also, of course, put him in a summoning priority. Surprisingly enough, this isn't all too bad. Like, if this hero was a wilder hero, he would go to the back of the line. My god, people would never summon him. But we are in the Graveborn faction, so, I mean, we have multiple heroes here that are good in the S tier realm. Thorin, of course, would summon him before Hodgkin. I would say Nara, even Nara is pretty cool in my opinion. Cessia doesn't really see play in the end game, but she's still a decent CC hero, so I would also summon her before him. And then Carolina, most definitely Carolina, one of the top heroes that you want. And even Ludovic. So I would say maybe Hodgkin before Igor, so this is kind of a stretch. I don't see him as much more powerful than Igor. Really, I don't see a reason why you would summon him. Let's be real about this. Like, he's still one of the last heroes here, even in this faction. And I mean, Graveborn, compared to what we see in the Wilder faction, really isn't too insane. Even in the Mauler faction, we have insane heroes. But, like, yeah, this is not a super insane hero. Pridwin already ranked him. Pridwin put him at B tier all around, which is disastrous. Disastrous. And I think they also found a pretty nice description. Let me find that. So Pridwin says, Hodgkin is a specialist who focuses on dealing damage and stealing energy from enemies. Yeah, the energy stealing you don't really notice, to be honest. He also counters any physical damage dealer as long as he is ethereal. As he can all become immune to that damage type, but sadly, magical true damage is currently meta, so he's kinda useless. Writing in there that he's kinda useless is mad, but they are right. They are right. I agree with them. And yeah, I have to say, all my testing, I don't see a team where I can use him at the moment. Maybe in the future we would need like a mass summoning hero that summons a ton of units that can quickly resummon. You would need like an ult summon 5 minions or something. Something like this. And I don't see that coming anytime soon. So at the moment, his only real use as a tool is he can become immune to fist damage. Which, I mean, you can build a situation around as a developer that would make a hero insane that is immune to fist damage for extended periods of time. And what he can do, of course, at the same time is deal damage to your heroes. That can also be put in a situation or in a skill effect where this is good. Do you need to lose HP to gain buffs? Well, he can deal damage to you. So, he's kind of a tool at the moment for very specific situations that don't yet exist. So that is probably the best thing we can say about him. Well, also one thing I want to have, he has those Mike Tyson jeans, shorts, however you want to call them, trousers. He has those Mike Tyson trousers. I need them for my character, they are mad. So with that being said, don't summon the hero. I hope you have a great day. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. And with that, I wish you a great day. We'll see us in the next one.